Okay, good morning, one and all. This is a ninth and 10th lecture in ad hoc and sensor network. So, this is a lecture going to be on MSCAW protocol. Previous day in the 8th lecture, we have seen CSMA and MACA protocol. What are the problems in CSMA and MACA protocol that we have seen? So, CSMA is carrier sense multiple access. What it does is before any sender node wants to send information to the receiver, first it checks if there is any carrier present or if there is any communication going on near to the sender. If it finds that yes, some communication is going on, the sender has sensed some carrier near about. In that case, that carrier is not going to send any information or put any packet on the transmission channel. So after a certain time, the sender would keep on checking if there is any carrier present in the links near to it. When the sender finds that there is no carrier present in the communication link near to it, then only it would send the packet on the channel for transmission. So this was carrier sense multiple access. This was having some problem because in CSMA what we found was if there was two senders and that means two transmitters and there was a common receiver in between them. Now when one sender is transmitting data to the receiver, at the same time another sender also can content for the same receiver. So data from both the senders collide at the receiver and none of the data is received at the receiver properly. So this was actually called as hidden terminal problem. We have seen the communication range, we have seen sensing range. So the hidden terminal problem occurs in case of CSMA if one receiver is common for the communication range of two different transmitters. So those two transmitters are not in the transmission range of each other, but receiver is there in the common transmission range of each other. In that case, the hidden terminal problem occurs. There was another problem which was called as exposed terminal problem. So initially N1 and R1, they are in a communication pair. That is N1 is the transmitter, R1 is the receiver. They are communicating with each other. And whatever transmission is being done by N1, so whatever antenna N1 is having, it will be transmitting in a omnidirectional direction. So in all the directions the N1 transmission goes, it does not only go to the R1 direction. So it's in a spherical kind of a communication that we find from the transmitter N1. Now N1 R1 is communicating with each other. In that case, if there is another transmitter N3 who wants to transmit to another receiver R2. So N1 R1 is a communication pair, N3 and R2 is another communication pair. And what is the configuration? N3 is within the communication range of N1. All these things we have seen in the 8th lecture. So in that case, as N1 R1 communication is going on at that time, N3 is receiving the data from N1. It is receiving means it is getting a hint or it is sensing a carrier which is transmitted from N1. Though it is for R1, but that carrier sense is happening at N3. So N3 understands that yes, N1 R1 communication is going on. So as long as N1 R1 communication is going on, N3 will not transmit any data. Understanding that if N3 transmits any data, that would hamper or that would affect or that would disturb the N1 R1 communication. Hence, as long as N1 R1 communication going on, N3 R2 communication cannot take place. Though N3 R2 communication would not disturb N1 R1 communication, but as long as N1 R1 communication going on, N3 R2 communication would not take place. That's why N3 is called as exposed terminal compared to N1. Okay, so this is another problem. That is N1 R1 is in communication and N3 is unnecessarily blocked because of N1 R1 communication. All these problems can be solved by MACA up to a certain extent. In MACA, what we had found was always communication was taking place, not directly through carrier sensing or through data transmission. So what's happening in case of MACA? First, the transmitter sends a RTS signal, that is the request to send signal to the probable receiver. So N1 was sending RTS to receiver R1. Upon receiving the RTS signal, if receiver R1 thinks that yes, it is in a position to receive packet, then R1 would send back a CTS signal to the transmitter. What is CTS? Clear to send. So RTS is request to send by the transmitter. CTS is clear to send back by the receiver. Upon receiving the CTS signal at the receiver side, then the receiver would start transmitting packet. So this was the basis of MACA communication, and we have found that whenever this RTS CTS communication is taking place first and then data transmission is taking place, this was in turn solving the hidden terminal problem and exposed terminal problem. How? Whenever there is a RTS CTS pair between N1 and R1, so N1 is a main transmitter, R1 is the main receiver, N2 is hidden terminal. Okay, so previously N1 and N2 both were trying to contend for R1, both were trying to catch hold of R1 receiver, but in this case initially N1 and R1 through RTS CTS packet exchange they have formed a pair. As soon as they are forming a pair, then if N2, that is the hidden terminal, if it is trying to catch hold of the R1 receiver, it will not be able to, because N1 and R1 they have formed a communication pair. In that case, even if the hidden terminal N2 tries to catch hold of R1, it will not happen as long as N1 R1 communication is going on. So this is how the communication from R2 would not be able to disturb the communication of communication from N2 would not be able to disturb the communication of N1. So this is how MACA by RTS CTS packet exchange or by RTS CTS link up solves the hidden terminal problem. So how is the hidden terminal problem solved? In two lines you have to write N1 R1 has formed a communication pair. Hence hidden terminal N2, even if it tries to catch hold of receiver R1, which is a common receiver for N1 and N2 both, N2 will not be able to catch hold of receiver R1 because N1 R1 communication is already going on. How long N2 would not be able to catch hold of R1? Answer is as long as N1 R1 communication goes on, N2 has to be sitting idle. Okay, because it would not be allowed to disturb the receiver R1 for the communication of N1. Okay, so this is how the hidden terminal problem is solved only by RTS CTS pairing. So RTS CTS is an indication that yes, R1 is given to N1. So N1 first contends, N1 first wins the contention, N1 gets the authority of the overall channel or overall carrier bandwidth or something. In that case, N1 R1 only would be communicating as long as they want, as long as N1 data is there. So where will the N2 data go? N2 has to wait. As long as N1 R1 communication is not getting over, N2 has to wait. So as soon as the N1 R1 communication gets over, then again N2 R1 packet exchange RTS CTS can happen, and then R1 and N2 is the hidden node transmitter and R1 is the receiver. So as long as N1 R1 communication goes on, nothing happens. As long when the N1 R1 communication is over, N2 and R1 they can again exchange RTS CTS, they can form a packet and they can form a couple and they can exchange data. So this is how the hidden terminal problem is solved. Hidden terminal problem of CSMA is thus solved by MACA. How the exposed terminals problem is solved? Again the same way, N1 R1 has exchanged RTS CTS packet. In that case N3, it is in the range of N1, communication range of N1. So whenever the RTS CTS package exchange is going on between N1 and R1, at that time this packets actually comes to N3 also, which is a exposed terminal. So when N1 R1 communication is going on, RTS CTS package exchange is going on between N1 and R1. N3, the exposed node, understands that yes, nothing between N3 and any other thing is going on. N3 understands that N1 R1 they are forming a couple. So after N1 and R1 forms a couple, then after a certain time N3 can contend for another receiver R2, and N3 can exchange RTS CTS packet with that another receiver R2, and they can communicate with each other even when N1 R1 communication is going on. So this is how the MACA protocol is solving the hidden terminal and exposed terminal problem of CSM. Okay. But what I would show here today, what are the problems in this kind of hidden terminal and exposed terminal solution of MACA. So MACA is also having a problem of hidden terminal, exposed terminal issues. Somewhat they have solved it, but there are certain issues in MACA also that has to be solved by hidden terminal and exposed terminal. So that has to be solved. That can be solved by MACA W protocol. And lastly, what I said was I had shown you a communication structure of MACA, that was RTS, CTS, data, and acknowledgement. So what I show here today is, first you have to understand, take the line below, that actually MACA does not use ACK packet. Okay, so whenever you are writing about MACA, please don't write ACK. ACK is actually a feature of MACA W. So I would not say that I have made a mistake or something last day. I told you the whole communication process, that this is the main sender N1, this is the main receiver R1. They are exchanging RTS CTS packet in MACA among each other, and N1 and R1 is forming a packet, forming a couple, sorry, and N1 R1 can exchange data. So after RTS CTS is done, request to send, clear send, then the main sender N1 sends a data to the receiver and receiver receives it. I had shown last day that again here acknowledgement thing happens, but this does not happen in MACA. So acknowledgement thing happens here only, but that happens in case of MACA W. Okay, so please when you write in the exam, don't write acknowledgement for MACA. Okay, acknowledgement has to be written only in case of MACA W. Now what is hidden terminal and what is exposed terminal? Check that. This N2 is the hidden terminal, and receiver R1 is in the communication range of N1 as well as in the communication range of N2. So R1 can be accessed both by N1 and N2. So what is hidden terminal? Hidden terminal is when N1 is trying to send data to R1, as N2 is not in the range of N1, N2 also would send the data to R1. And both N1 data and N2 data would clash at R1, and neither of the data will be received by R1. So both N1 sends data and N2 sends data, they will be lost. So there are a lot of sensor nodes on N1 because this is the sender. Maybe temperature sensor, pressure sensor, air quality monitoring sensor, maybe some chemical sensor, biosensor. All the sensor data are being constantly accumulated by N1, and same data is being constantly accumulated by N2. They want to transmit this data to the gateway through receiver R1. Okay, so both are contending for R1, but the MAC sets the preference. Whichever node is having more important data. Now MAC, that is the medium access and control protocol, that understands that yes, N1 is having more important data. Hence N1 will win the contention. It will win the bandwidth. Hence N1 R1 would form the communication pair through RTS CTS. So how the hidden terminal problem is solved? Why would not hidden terminal data disturb the N1 R1 couple? That initially N1 R1 has become coupled through RTS and CTS packet exchange. There is no packet exchange between N2 and R1 as long as N1 R1 communication is going on. Hence, even if this N2 tries to send data to R1, R1 cannot receive the N2 data because R1 is dedicated to N1. Okay, so that's why this is how the hidden terminal problem is solved. That is when N1 R1 is communicating, N2 would not be able to send data to R1. N2 communication would not be able to disturb the N1 R1 communication. Another important thing, initially N1 sends RTS to R1 and R1 sends back CTS to R1. But this CTS is in an omnidirectional antenna transmitted signal. So whatever signal R1 transmits for N1 mainly, the same signal N2 being in the communication range of R1, the same CTS signal is received by N2 also. So this CTS signal tells N2 that R1 is trying to form a couple with N1. Hence, N2 gets a indication that from R1 that R1 is trying to make a couple with N1. Hence, N2 does not transmit to R1. N2 delays its communication. How come N2 know that this CTS is for N1? Because in this CTS signal, whatever receiver sends, there is a address of N1 embedded in the CTS data packet. Okay, hence the N2 understands that whatever CTS signal is sent by R1, that is not for N2, but that is for N1. Hence N2 understands that R1 N1 is trying to form a couple. Okay, thus the N2 would not transmit to R1 as long as N1 R1 communication is going on. This is how hidden terminals problem is solved in MECA. Just now I have explained. Same thing, what is exposed terminal? So this is exposed terminal N3, and understand there is some other R2 receiver here. Okay, so N3 would like to transmit to R2, but it cannot. Why? Because whatever N1 R1 communication goes on, so first N1 sends the RTS signal to R1. The same signal R1, because this N3 is in communication range of N1. Whatever RTS signal is sent to R1, the same signal would go to N3 also. So this dashed line means this is this signal is not intended for N3, but it would reach N3. Okay, so dashed line means this is an unwanted transmission towards the direction of N3, and the solid line means yes, N1 wants to send this information to R1. So whenever it is an intended communication, it is solid line. Whenever it is an unintended communication, but communication happens, that is given by dashed lines. So whatever N1 R1 packet exchange happens, N1 sends RTS to R1. That signal actually goes towards N3 also. And as long as N1 R1 communication will go on, N3 will not be able to form any couple with another transmitter, because N3 has received this RTS, and N3 would understand that if this thing tries to exchange packet, CTS, RTS packet and all, that CTS, RTS would come to N1 also, because whatever RTS N3 sends, that will go to R2, but that RTS will come to N1 also. So as long as N1 R1 communication is going on, N3 would not send any signal, either control signal or data signal, to anywhere. Okay, that was in case of CSMA to N1, because N3 thinks that that would disturb the N1 communication. But in case of MECA, what happens? It can send, because whatever RTS and CTS happens between N3 and R2, that would be having each other's address. So when N1 R1 communication is going on, at that time N3 can send a RTS to R2 with the address of R2. So even if N1 receives that R2, N1 will understand that that RTS is not for N1, that RTS is for R2. And hence, when N1 R1 communication goes on, N3 R2 can form a couple. Okay, so that's how exposed terminals problem is solved in case of MECA. Now another very important question is asked: what is the packet sequence of MECA? So what was the packet sequence of CSMA? There was no direct packet sequence as such. So initially there was two steps only in case of CSMA. First step is sense the carrier. So this is a transmitter. It wants to send data to the receiver. The transmitter would check if there is any communication going on in close links to the transmitter. And N1 finds that there is no communication going on because there is no carrier. Carrier means carrier frequency. Then N1 would transmit to the receiver. So in CSMA, that was the first step. That is carrier sensing. And what is the second step? Data transmission. In MECA, what is the first step? First step is sending RTS to the receiver. Receiver would send back CTS to the transmitter, and then data transmission would take place. Okay, so CTS is MECA is a three-step communication thing. CSMA was a two-step communication. So CSMA first carrier sensing, then data transmission. MECA first RTS, then CTS, then data. Okay, so it is written here categorically. Actually, MECA does not use ACK packet. So in last lecture, I told you another step here, ACK, but that does not happen in case of MECA. So I'm rectifying that in this lecture. But yes, in case of MECA W, we will find exactly after this data is received at the receiver would send the acknowledgement signal to the transmitter. So that is, there are mainly two extra packets that is transmitted in MECA W. So what is the full form of MECA W? Full form MECA, and W stands for wireless. Okay. So this is actually the characteristic of the acknowledgement, actually the characteristic of MacaW. So it is written here, actually Maca does not use ACK packet. So Maca is having only 3-step RTS, CTS and data. And MacaW uses ACK packet transmission. So now onwards, we are going to keep our intention on MacaW. So this lecture, there are only around 14 slides. What I would explain is there are 7 main differences between Maca and MacaW, and all are improvements. So a very big question is asked, that is actually 2 questions are asked, you can write down. First question is, what is the packet sequence difference between Maca and MacaW? So packet sequence difference means Maca is using 3-step transmission, 3 different packets. So RTS, CTS are control packet, and then there is data packet. And in data packet, whatever is coming from N1, the address of R1 is written in the data packet. So even if the data is received by N3, so data from N1 is received by N3, okay, it can receive data, but it cannot decode data. N3 cannot decode data because the N1 data is actually given for receiver R1. So whatever is data sequence from N1, in that data sequence, the receiver address of R1 is given. Okay, hence only R1 can decode the data, but N3 cannot decode the data, though it can receive the data. Okay. So Maca is a 3-step process: RTS, CTS and data. Now let us check what happens in case of MacaW. The whole MacaW algorithm we would learn through this 7 main differences. And first difference is the problem with the hidden terminal in case of Maca. That is solved actually by MacaW. So this slide would explain what is the problem with hidden terminal in case of Maca. Okay, so what is the full form of MacaW? It is multiple access collision avoidance wireless. Maca was only multiple access collision avoidance, and MacaW is an improvement over that. Only wireless word you have to add. What happens? So this is the same case, N1 R1. So this is the hidden terminal problem which is found in case of Maca. So CSMA hidden terminal problem is somewhat solved by Maca. But in Maca also, hidden terminal is causing another problem, that is N2 channel is getting totally blocked. N2 is a hidden terminal, this channel is getting totally blocked. Okay, how that happens, that I would explain here. So N1 R1 initially is exchanging RTS CTS packet as per as Maca, and N1 R1 is N1 has won the contention, and N1 R1 is doing the transmission. So this solid data line is called as transmission. So N1 is continuously transmitting to R1. This is the scenario. Now what happens in case of N2? So a lot of data is stored in N1. So N1 is a ad hoc sensor node. This is having some 5-6 different sensors in it. They are exchanging data. They are actually sensing data. All the data is getting accumulated in N1, and N1 is sending that data to R1, and from R1 the data is going to gateway, and gateway is receiving all the data. Okay. So, but N2 is also another sensor node, and N2 is having a lot of accumulated data in it, and N2 wants to transmit to R1, but it cannot transmit. So that's why this line is kind of a dotted line. Okay. N2 cannot transmit to R1 because there is no pairing between N2 and R1. But in this case, there occurs something, and something very difficult between N2 R1 communication. What is that? That is, every time N2 wants to seek the contention of R1. So every time N2 wants to establish a communication link with R1 and it fails, what happens? Its waiting time becomes double. So each time a channel busy signal detected by N2 at R1. Why there is a channel busy signal? Initially N1 R1 is communicating, N2 is trying to catch hold of R1, but R1 will give back a busy signal to N2 because R1 will say I am busy with N1. So every time this N2 receives a busy signal from R1, its waiting time becomes double. So initially N2 tries to contend or tries to win R1, tries to establish a communication channel with R1. It does not get any hint from R1 of through CTS. Okay. Then N2 waits for 1 second. After 1 second, again N2 tries to win R1. Again R1 gives a busy signal back. So its waiting time becomes double. Previously it was waiting for 1 second, now it will wait for 2 seconds. Again it sends a RTS signal, it is getting a channel busy signal, waiting time doubles, become 8 seconds. So every time it waits, its waiting time becomes double. So what is that algorithm called in MACA? This is called binary exponential backoff algorithm. In short, we call it BEB. Okay, binary exponential backoff. So BEB, binary exponential backoff algorithm. What it says that N1 R1 has formed the RTS CTS link up, that means coupling. After N1 won the channel contention, transmission from N2 for R1 wait for a random time. So initially let's take the random time is 1 second till N1 R1 transmission get over. But if N1 R1 communication goes for long, N2 will not be able to hold the same data packet for long as new sensor data keep on piling up at N2. So N2 data is keeping on piling up but is not getting a channel to R1 to send its data. Okay, and the waiting time becomes double, again 4 times, again 8 times, 16 times, likewise. What happens? Both N1 and N2 keep generating high volume of data traffic. I told you initially, as N1 has captured the channel for R1, N2 packet for R1 are rejected. Hence, N2 is getting a busy signal from R1. After every rejection, N2 wait for double time than the previous wait time. So what N2 thinks is, okay, let me wait for some more. Maybe I'll get catch hold of R1. Okay. So that's why its waiting time becomes double. This is called BEB algorithm. So BEB algorithm is a waiting time determination algorithm. But what is the drawback of BEB? Finally, N2 gets totally blocked for transmission. So N1 R1 communication is going on for long. So maybe N2 waiting time will become 8 minutes or 10 minutes or something. And finally, what will happen is, even if N1 R1 communication is over, but it has defined or it has got, because of BEB algorithm, its waiting time is around 10 minutes. Okay, then N2 does not even try to send data to R1 even after N1 R1 link up is over. So N2 continuously tries to get contention of R1, but R1 is giving busy signal. So N2 keeps on waiting for longer and longer and longer time. That time keeps on getting doubled every time N2 is rejected. So at one point of time, the huge amount of data is piled up at N2, but N2 is not getting a channel to disperse all the data, and its waiting time is too much, maybe 10 minutes. So even N1 R1 communication is over, N2 cannot transmit because it has defined its waiting time as 10 minutes because of BEB algorithm. So there is a BEB counter inside N2 which keeps on getting doubled. Okay. And N2 waiting time has become so big that even if whenever N1 R1 communication is over, then N2 is actually got totally blocked. So N2 would not be able to transmit to R1. So whatever data is stored at N2, because sensing goes on continuously, whatever data is stored at N2, eventually what will happen is that data would be lost totally. Okay, so that is a huge loss because N2 is there deployed to sense all the data. But if it is not getting the access to receiver R1, that data would get lost automatically. Okay, so that is the problem. So this is the MECA problem in case of hidden terminal. Okay, so this is the hidden terminal problem in case of MECA, and that can be solved by MECA W. How it is solved? Just check. So what is said is, in case of hidden terminal, so N2 is the hidden terminal, N2 carries the BEB counter. There is a counter inside N2 which keeps on track that how many times it has been rejected by receiver R1. Okay, so R1 is a receiver node, N1 R1 communication is going on after RTS CTS, so N1 R1 has formed a couple, but N2 is continuously getting rejected by R1, and every time it is getting rejected, the BEB counter value is keeping on increasing. So more is the BEB counter value means N2 waiting time is more times N2 has been rejected by the receiver R1. Now this is a modified, this is MECA-W improvement what we are doing. So that BEB counter in N2 is a MECA-W improvement. Finally what happens is R1 while busy with N1 copies only the backoff count from N2. Very important thing. So R1 is busy with N1 and N2 is requesting for access of R1. R1 receives this RTS and that RTS will be having that BEB counter value. So even if N1 is, so R1 is busy with N1, but it can sense the backoff counter from N2, and R1 understands that yes, N2 is trying to catch hold of R1 very badly. So N2 is having, so R1 understands that N2 is having a lot of data and N2 is trying to send that data to R1. And that R1 understands that it has rejected N2 many times. and R1 senses the BEB counter of N2. So through the back of counter sensing from in the data from N2, R1 understands that yes, N2 is in badly need of the contention, or N2 badly needs to send the data to R1. So as soon as the N1 R1 communication gets over, very fast R1 links up with N2, okay, and R1 allocates all the bandwidth to N2 so that all the huge amount of stored data can be very fast sent to the R1. So this helps. What helps? That sensing the BEB counter value from N2, that is how many times it was rejected. This means that, okay, so sensing that BEB counter value, which is very high now because N2 has been rejected many times. Okay, so this helps to allocate more bandwidth to N2 as soon as the R1 N2 communication starts. So R1 N2 communication starts means first R1 N1 communication has to get over. So as soon as N1 R1 communication gets over, R1 N2 communication is established, and R1 would tell MAC protocol to allocate all the bandwidths, a huge amount of bandwidth to N2, because N2 is contending for R1 for a long time, and N2 is having a huge amount of data. So this is actually deciding for the fairness of transmission. So this helps to allocate more bandwidth to N2 as soon as R1 N2 communication starts. So this is how initially N2 was getting blocked, and this is how the N2 blockage problem or hidden terminal problem which was created at MECA, that can be solved at MECA-W. It cannot be solved in this way that when N1 R1 is going on, N2 can transmit. No, it can never. So when N1 R1 is communication going on, N1 R1 communication only will go on. No other communication can disturb that. But as soon as N1 R1 is over, in case of MECA, N2 was getting totally blocked and N2 was not trying to communicate with R1. In case of MECA W, that does not happen. In case of MECA W, R1 keeps a track of how many times N2 is rejected. So as soon as N1 R1 is over, communication is over, R1 tells the MAC protocol or medium access control to allocate huge amount of bandwidth between N2 and R1, and N2 R1 communication takes place. And N2, initially in case of MECA, N2 was totally rejected. Now in case of MECA W, N2 is not rejected. Okay, N2 eventually gets to transmit to R1, though little late. Okay, but N2 gets to transmit to R1. This is how MECA W solves the hidden terminal problem in MECA. Okay, I think this is understood. I'm going for the next slide. It is saying the BEB fixed. So in case of MECA, so this is another improvement. So that is the first point between MECA and MECA W difference. That is, in case of MECA, whatever hidden terminal problem was there, MECA W can solve it. Another problem in MECA was every time the channel N2 was getting rejected, it was doubling its waiting time. In case of MECA W, it will not be doubling. It can be a dynamic time. It can be 1.5 times, 1.25 times, and that is actually given by mild algorithm. So MECA uses a fixed BEB. What is the fixed BEB? 2 times. Waiting time will be doubled every time it is rejected, N2. But MECA W adjusts back off waiting time dynamically. Yeah, dynamically means it will not be every time 2 times. It will not be more than 2 times. It will be less than 2. And the way MECA W adjusts the back off waiting time is given by MILD. What is the full form? Multiple increment linear decrement algorithm. So whenever N2 is waiting, its waiting time will keep on increasing, maybe by 1.5 times, 1.25 times, 1.1 time likewise. And whenever the N2 gets contention of R1, whenever N2 gets to transmit to R1, its BEB or that waiting time counter will keep on reducing. So upon getting rejected, the waiting time will keep on increasing, not by 2 times but less than 2 times. And when getting the contention, when N1 is getting to transmit to R1, that back off counter time will keep on decreasing. So when the back off time becomes 0, that means N2 can totally communicate to R1 likewise. So for node N2, when it is finally able to transmit data successfully to R1, very important line. So initially N1 R1 was going on. Finally, when N2 is able to transmit to R1, back off counter value is decreased. So when N2 was waiting for R1, back of counter time was getting increased. In case of mecha, it is increased by 2 times every time it is rejected. In case of mecha W, it is dynamic 1.1, 1.2, 1.5. So the waiting time is reducing in case of mecha W. This is one advantage. And whenever the N2 catches hold of R1, at that time back of counter value is decreased by 1. This feature was not there in case of mecha. This eliminates the long contention period. Okay, it also provides reasonably quick escalation if the in the back of value when the contention for N2 is high. So initially when N2 value was N2 BEV counter value was very high, that means N2 is continuously trying to catch hold of R1, its BEV counter time was increased. But later on in MacaW, R1 understood that yes, N2 needs the data to transmit the data. So R1 and N2 forms a pair. As soon as that pair is formed, the BEV algorithm keeps on decreasing. So that is the linear decrement. Linear decrement is means that counter will keep on decreasing by 1, 1, 1, 1 every time. And whenever it is becoming 0, okay, BEV algorithm counter is becoming 0. At that time, N2 and R1, they starts communicating. Okay, and more is the contention of N2. So more is the data stored in the N2. The more amount of bandwidth will be allocated to N2. So MacaW implements per flow fairness, very important thing. That means between two links, if one side there is a transmitter, another side there is a receiver. So per flow means per link fairness. So if one link is very heavily loaded with data or heavily loaded with information, that link will be given a huge amount of bandwidth. This is what is MacaW. Whereas the Meca was giving per node fairness. Okay, so Meca was thinking if the sensor is very important, then in Meca that node will be given all the bandwidth. But in case of MacaW, it checks the fairness of the link. So if any link wants to receive or transmit huge amount of data, that link will be given more amount of bandwidth. So MacaW implements per flow or per link fairness, whereas Meca is found to have per node fairness. So this is done by keeping multiple queues at every node. So all the data are arranged in a form of queue, and in queue form only they are sent, or those data packets are put over channel. Okay, so in MacaW, per flow fairness is received, and MacaW is able to handle the hidden terminal problem in a better way because of mild algorithm, and in Meca it was because of BEV algorithm. So increment decrement of BEV counter both happens in case of MacaW. In case of Meca, it was only increment of BEV counter. There was no decrement. Okay. So short question can be asked: what is BEV algorithm in Meca and what is mild algorithm in MacaW? So this is the second difference. That is in Meca, the counter was double, it was fixed value, but in case of MacaW, the counter can get incremented, can get decremented, and with a dynamic value. So this is the second difference. Third difference can be explained by the packet transmission. How many packets are there in case of MacaW? So there are two questions in this slide. First is, what is the packet exchange diagram in MacaW? Okay, so you can find here the same equation, that is a sender here, receiver here. This is the hidden terminal N2. So N1 and N2, in between R1 is their receiver. So N1 and N2 both can get contention of R1. This is the first thing. Okay, but initially N1 sends RTS to R1, R1 sends CTS back to N1. So N1 R1 forms a couple. After that, so there is the first change. There is a packet which is called data sending packet, DS packet, which is sent from the transmitter to the receiver. What does DS contain? So DS contains only 30 bytes, and DS is containing two information. First, DS is containing the receiver address. So whatever is the address of R1, so every node is having a unique ID. That is nothing but address. So DS is containing that unique ID of receiver R1. So whatever DS packet is sent from the sender to the receiver R1, N3, the exposed terminal being in the communication range of N1, receives that DS packet also. So one important thing is in DS packet is the receiver address is embedded in the DS packet. That is a first important thing. Second one is how long the N1 R1 communication will take place, that duration. This is also embedded in DS packet. So when this same DS packet from sender N1 is received at neighbor N3, N3 will understand two things. First, how long the N1 R1 communication will go on. For that amount of time, N3 will not do any RTS CTS communication with other receiver node. So DS is containing two things. DS is containing first address of receiver R1. So first, whenever DS communication, DS packet comes to the N3 exposed node, okay, this is shown dashed line because this DS packet is not intended for the exposed node N3. This is solid line because this DS packet is intended for receiver R1. But then also, as there is a omnidirectional transmission from N1, this DS packet goes to N3 as well. So N3 exposed node comes to know two things. That is, first, the receiver address of R1 is embedded in this DS packet. Hence, N1 R1 going to form a pair. This is the first thing N3 will understand. Second thing, how long the N1 R1 communication will go on. So that amount, that period is known at N3. Hence, N3 would not transmit for that period. N3 would not contend for R2 in that period. Yeah, this solves actually the exposed terminal problem. So after sending DS from transmitter to receiver, after some time, then the actual data is transmitted. So this is a new packet DS, which is a very big advantage, which is a very big improvement in case of MecaW. And what is the characteristic of DS? It is called data sending packet, small 30 bytes control packet. So RTS, CTS, DS acknowledgement, all are control packets. And this data is nothing but the data packet. So data packet cannot be sent just like that. So first, a lot of introductory packets has to be exchanged. Communication has to be established between N1 and R1. When that thing is done, then only data packet can be exchanged. So first RTS, CTS, DS, and then the data packet. So between CTS received at N1 and data transmit from N1 to R1. So between the CTS received at N1 and data transmitted from N1 to R1. So between CTS and data, the DS packet is sent from sender to the receiver. So DS packet is transmitted by main sender N1, contains duration of next data transmission session, and DS also contains the address of R1. So when the DS is received at receiver R1, R1 also knows that yes, N1 is going to transmit for this much amount of time, and N1 is actually sending the data for receiver R1, because this packet, DS packet, whatever is received at R1, the R1 address is there. After that certain time, data is transmitted from the transmitter to the receiver. Upon receiving the data at the receiver sends the acknowledgement signal back to the transmitter N1. And this RTS and this acknowledgement received at N1, this completes a whole communication process. So in case of Meca, it was RTS, CTS data. In case of MecaW, it is RTS, CTS, DS, data, and acknowledgement. So question is asked, what are the extra packets that is sent in MecaW? So answer will be DS and acknowledgement. And what is the significance of that? So significance of DS is, it is containing the address of the receiver. It is containing the duration for which N1 and R1 communication will go on in future. These are two things. And what is the significance of acknowledgement? So whatever data is transmitted from N1 to R1, if it is received perfectly at the R1, then only R1 sends back the acknowledgement. So acknowledgement when received at the receiver, transmitter knows that whatever was its job, that is done perfectly. That is, whatever data transmission had to take place between N1 and R1, that has taken place perfectly. Two more things. Whatever CTS signal is transmitted by the receiver, that actually goes to the neighboring node N2. And N2 comes to know that R1 and N1 is trying to form a pair. Hence, this neighboring node N2 would not transmit data or would not transmit data to R1 as long as N1 R1 communication is not getting over. So this is how MecaW is solving the hidden node problem, and how much time the N2 would be waiting. It depends on the MILD algorithm. Whatever acknowledgement signal is sent from the receiver to the transmitter, that acknowledgement signal also goes to the hidden node. And upon receiving this acknowledgement signal, this hidden node comes to understand that yes, now the N1 R1 communication is over. Now N2 can fight for the receiver R1. So this CTS actually was start of the contention process, and ACK actually the end of the contention process. When the hidden node receives the ACK signal, it understands that yes, N1R1 communication is over. And when N2 received the CTS signal, it understood that yes, N1R1 communication is going to be started. Okay, so this CTS and ACK received that hidden neighbor is also having very big importance. Okay. First importance is CTS received that N2, N2 understands that R1 N1 communication is going to start. ACK received that N2 hidden neighbor, N2 understand that N1 R1 communication is over. Okay, so these are the significances of packets in case of MakerW. So this is the third difference. So first I have explained in the third difference what is the significance of